The worst cartoon twins ever. You know what they say about twins. They're double the trouble, double the fun, and sometimes just double the headache. In cartoons, twins can either be a hit or a total miss. They're supposed to complement each other, bring out the best in one another, or at least be entertaining together. But not all twins get that memo. Today, we're talking about the worst cartoon twins. The ones that make us want to change the channel because of too much drama, grossness, or sheer annoyance. Let's kick off this twin tirade with some infamous duos who seriously missed the mark. Patty and Selma Bouvier from The Simpsons. All right, let's start with a pair everyone knows, even if they'd rather not. Patty and Selma Bouvier from The Simpsons. If you've watched The Simpsons long enough, you know these are Marge's chain-smoking, judgmental sisters. And let's be honest, every time they show up, you can almost feel the collective sighs from Springfield, and maybe even from the audience. Patty and Selma embody every negative stereotype of overbearing in-laws. They are perpetually critical, especially of Homer, and their disdain is relentless. Their hostility towards Homer isn't clever or entertaining. It's just mean-spirited. Sure, Homer is often lazy and irresponsible, but their negativity crosses into just plain misery, often affecting their relationship with Marge, whom they claim to love.
Marge, nothing says I'm sorry better than flowers.
Instead of supporting her, they add stress, meddle in her marriage, and ultimately bring down everyone's mood. Occasionally, there are attempts to give them more depth, like Patty's coming out story or Selma's desire for motherhood, but these rare glimpses are almost always overshadowed by their consistent negativity. It's almost like they take one step forward in their character growth, only to immediately take 2 steps back into their usual routine. In the end, they're one-dimensional, defined by their hatred of Homer, their chain-smoking habit, and their general disdain for the world. They have funny moments, but mostly, they're characters you endure rather than enjoy. Why are they on our list? Because they embody what makes sibling characters grating. They aren't supportive or encouraging. Instead, they drag others down and bring a constant dose of pessimism that's not enjoyable for anyone. Instead of being a fun duo, they leave us wishing for more uplifting or at least interesting interactions. Phil and Lil DeVille from Rugrats. Now let's move on to the next set of twins. Phil and Lil DeVille from Rugrats. If you watched Rugrats, you definitely remember these two. They were the ultimate twin chaos duo. But whether that chaos was adorable or annoying is a big debate. Phil and Lil were obsessed with gross things. Bugs, mud, dirty diapers. If it was disgusting, they were into it. This gross-out humor was their main gimmick. And while it might be cute at first, it quickly got old. Watching them eat bugs or roll around in mud was a novelty that wore thin when repeated every episode. And every time Tommy or Chucky had something meaningful to do, Phil and Lil were there to derail it. Usually over something trivial like who got the biggest piece of mud pie. And let's not forget their endless bickering. Sure, they'd make up at the end, but the fighting over toys or who got the bigger piece of cake just added noise without contributing to the story. The biggest problem with Phil and Lil is that they lacked depth. When you think of Tommy, you think adventure. Chucky, you think caution. Phil and Lil? Just mud and bugs. It's like their whole existence revolved around being the gross factor of the group without much else to offer. Their constant chaos and lack of substance made them more frustrating than fun. Why do they make the list? Because they show what goes wrong when twins are reduced to a gimmick. Instead of adding depth or character development, they were just the gross twins, which quickly wore thin. Their interactions rarely provided anything memorable or meaningful, leaving them feeling more like filler than main characters. Dipper and Mabel Pines from Gravity Falls. Next up, a duo that might stir some controversy. Dipper and Mabel Pines from Gravity Falls. They're fraternal twins, sharing a birthday and the ups and downs of adventure. But their dynamic often exhausting. Dipper is awkward, nerdy, and driven, while Mabel is carefree and quirky. It's supposed to balance out, but Mabel often ends up putting her desires over Dipper's. Take the time traveler's pig. Dipper gives up his chance to grow closer to Wendy just so Mabel can keep her pet pig, Waddles. And it wasn't an isolated incident. Mabel's actions throughout the series repeatedly steamrolled Dipper's ambitions, whether by giving away the rift that led to Weirdmageddon or resisting Dipper's opportunity to apprentice with Ford. It's clear that Mabel isn't all bad. She loves Dipper, and their bond is undeniable. But the balance is often tipped in her favor, with Dipper sacrificing far more for her than she does for him. And it wasn't just about the big moments. Even in smaller situations, Mabel often took advantage of Dipper's kindness. This imbalance is why they're on our list. We want twins who grow together, but with Mabel and Dipper, it often feels like Dipper's making sacrifices while Mabel chases her own happiness.
Smarty mission and one for your smarty mission.
The Warner siblings, Yakko, Wakko, and Dot, Animaniacs. Okay, technically this is a trio, but we can't ignore the Warner siblings, Yakko, Wakko, and Dot from Animaniacs. They're an iconic set of siblings, but let's be real, they're also incredibly annoying at times. Yakko, Wakko, and Dot are chaotic forces of nature, and while that's sometimes entertaining, it can also feel exhausting. Their relentless pranks and constant need for mischief often border on obnoxious rather than funny. They're supposed to be lovable troublemakers, but there are definitely moments where you find yourself sympathizing more with their targets than with the Warners themselves. They don't really grow or change, and their antics can become repetitive. Sure, they're supposed to embody classic slapstick humor, and that works in small doses. But when they're on screen for too long, their behavior starts to feel more disruptive than amusing. Instead of nuanced humor, it becomes a cycle of the same pranks over and over again, lacking the depth that makes other characters shine.
Creative process.
Why are they on this list? Because their humor doesn't always hit the mark. Sometimes they're hilarious, but other times they're just plain irritating. When they're at their worst, the Warners become little more than cartoon caricatures, endlessly repeating the same tired jokes. Sherry and Terry from The Simpsons. Sticking with The Simpsons.
By yourself. Would you like to borrow one of my...
Let's talk about Sherry and Terry, the identical twins from Springfield Elementary.
Talking about
They don't get much screen time, but when they do, it's often just enough to remind us why they've earned a spot here. Sherry and Terry are classic mean girls, synchronized, smug, and always ready to make Bart's life miserable. The problem with Sherry and Terry is that they have no depth. They exist to be condescending and to torment Bart, but without any individuality. They speak in unison, act in unison, and don't have any real personality beyond their synchronized smugness.
he took a whistle, yes he did.
Unlike Patty and Selma, who have occasional moments of depth, Sherry and Terry are completely one note. Why are they on our list? Because they're uninspired, flat characters. The best Simpsons characters have layers, but Sherry and Terry are all surface. Nothing beyond synchronized mean-spiritedness. They never move beyond the role of stereotypical bullies, and frankly, it gets tiring.
Oh, thank you, Nelson.
Stan and Lee from American Dad. Next up is Stan and Lee,
So here's what we'll do. I'll hold an...
the elderly twins from American Dad. These two are brothers of Stan Smith's dad, and let's just say they are one of the more forgettable parts of the show. They're supposed to be eccentric and humorous, but often they're just confusing and random in a way that doesn't always land. Their antics lack the charm or wit that could make them memorable. Instead of being funny, they usually leave the audience wondering why they're there in the first place. They're more bizarre than entertaining, and their humor is so offbeat that it often doesn't connect. Why are they on this list? Because they fail to bring the comedic value that the show aims for. Instead of being the quirky old relatives you love to see,
What? Papa Wheelie, the smart...
they're the characters you forget were even part of the family. Chip and Skip from Camp Laszlo. And finally, let's wrap it up with Chip and Skip from Camp Laszlo. These dung beetle twins are all about bad hygiene, and honestly, that's about the only thing they have going for them. Their whole gimmick is being dirty and dim-witted. And while gross humor can work in small doses with Chip and Skip, it's all the time.
I'll ask him. Edward, Skip wants to...
They're lazy, they're gross, and they don't have much to offer beyond that. Their interactions are predictable, and they rarely contribute anything meaningful to the plot. Instead of adding to the story, they usually drag it down with their lack of motivation and obsession with dirt. It's a tired joke that never evolves, and after a while, you just wish they'd take a shower and move on. Why do they make the list? Because they're one-dimensional and repetitive. Their gross-out humor gets old fast, and without any real character development, they end up being more of a nuisance than a contribution to the show's humor. So, there you have it.
News like an adult.
7 sets of twins.
Gravity Falls?
Or twin-like trios that just don't work. From Patty and Selma's relentless negativity to Phil and Lil's gross-out gimmicks.
You're even fatter!
Mabel and Dipper's imbalance.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
The irritating antics of the Warners. Sherry and Terry's one-dimensional bullying. Stan and Lee's confusing presence. And Chip and Skip's lack of character development. These twins fail to bring meaningful depth or growth to their shows. Instead, they're flat, repetitive, and often just plain annoying. But we're not done yet. There are more twins out there that missed the mark, and trust me, we've got some real gems coming up.
Buku, thank you very much.
If you thought these were bad, just wait until you see what else we've got in store. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because you won't want to miss the next round of cartoon characters who are the worst at being double trouble.
I got a DJ gig. You can take your model minority myth